Hey, Gabriel,
Hey, Gaybros, Jose.
where are we today?
Damn it, I forgot to move to the armchair. One day I'll move to a different spot, but for the time being, I'm in the same spot as always, San Francisco.
You only made one promise to a listener, a single promise, and you couldn't even come through it.
I'll do it next time. Next time.
We both know that won't happen. Meanwhile, I'm still in Chicago. I'm in the same place. I never promised to actually change location, so I feel like I haven't failed today.
I saw a TikTok that said it was super warm in Chicago, like in the last day or two.
It was like 70.
Yeah, somebody was wearing a tank top, and they're like, who says climate change isn't real? This is November in Chicago, and tank tops.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, like, some other years you may have minus 40, and this year we're having 70. But, you know, it's a variance. Yeah.
I've been sending polar vortex
Energy. We're doing good. Now, I have to say that the temperature changes are way too drastic. You know, I think that in a couple of days we're going to be like just dropping to 40, you know, so almost from one day to the next. It's a lot.
It's horrible. Well,
Yeah.
you like it. It's not for me.
I mean, I wish that it wasn't like that drastic. Part of me wishes that, but no, I can
We're going off on a tangent, but I'm going to Portugal the week after next, and I found out that Lisboa has the same weather as San Francisco, so it's going to be like 65, 70 while I'm there.
Yeah, they like to say that there is like a sisterhood with San Francisco. They have like similar, it's not really similar architecture, but they have a similar bridge, you know. So I guess that counts.
I was completely not going to visit any beaches because I assumed, I mean, I know there's no snow there, but I assumed it would be cold, but chances are we could have a sunny, warm day on the beach.
No, definitely. You should check it out, yeah. Yeah, the whole area is gorgeous, but the city has like a lot to do, so I hope that you guys have a blast. Cool, but talking about having a blast, what did we watch this time?
We watched Todd Field's first film that it's not an original script, but he did write the script, adapting it from a book.
A short story. Yeah.
A short story, yeah. 2001's In the Bedroom, a Sundance film.
Yeah, and this was your pick. Why did you pick it?
Because I'm obsessed with Tar, and I can't get Tar out of my mind, and we had already watched Little Children.
So it was a bit more about like making me watch Tar again only 2 weeks after talking about it. It would have looked bad. Yeah.
I was like, I only made him watch a 2-hour and 40-minute film by Todd Field.
Yeah. So there is more stuff. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So I was pretty curious because I know that you're a big fan of Little Children and Tar, and for me, I recognize like the quality as a cinema maker, as a filmmaker that Todd Field has. So I was curious to actually see like how was he like 20 years ago. That is when you actually see Marisa Tomei, you know, I saw young, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. She used to be young.
Once upon a time, year 2000, they filmed this.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, like, now as he became popular again because of the Spider-Man movies, I had a feeling. Yeah, she is Aunt May in the new movies. Like, what? Yeah, like the old 80 years old Aunt May has been replaced by Marisa Tomei. I mean, it's
Oscar winner Marisa Tomei.
My cousin Vinny is still there. It's a proof that the Academy sometimes get it right and most of the times get it wrong.
I've never seen my cousin Vinny.
I'm not going to pick it up. You're welcome.
That's going to be my pick. So.
Okay, go for it. But yeah, let me just try to summarize this movie. I don't think that it's going to be like too hard to summarize. The action takes place in Maine, in like a coast region, like pretty strong, like fisherman presence, and it follows the story. I have to say that the summary that I read from it pissed me off, you know, because basically what it says, like, this follows the story of a relationship with a age difference gap between like a young guy, like probably 20, 21, like thinking about going to college.
I'd say he's 22.
Yeah, he's about to go to college, you know, and older woman that is separated from her husband with 2 kids. And then a tragedy happens. This is like 20 years old, so I'm going to be like spoiling it.
Spoiler alert, we're gonna just ruin this whole thing.
Yeah, so basically the relationship between Marisa Tomei and her husband, or separated husband, I don't remember the name of the actor, but he's in Lost. I saw him in Lost like some weeks ago when I was rewatching part of it, and I was like, oh yeah, that guy. But it's pretty violent. It's clear that the ex-husband or husband, whatever, is violent. So one day when the kid goes to visit the woman, he actually finds like the house completely destroyed, like all the furniture upside down, and the husband goes to the house. They got into an argument, and the husband shoots down this young kid, and then right in the face, and the camera likes to just like whoop, like bang into it, and just look at he's dead. There is no other explanation, and we see how the guy like walks away with the gun in the hand, while Marisa Tomei just falls to the ground and starts screaming. And then the movie shifts completely to follow how the couple, the parents of this kid, start seeing like their whole life falling apart, like trying to adapt to the fact that this guy may not go to prison for several years, and then even if he goes to prison, it's going to be like just judged as a manslaughter, and probably is only going to be like just staying there like for a year or 2. So they follow the husband. Is a doctor practitioner. The wife, she's a teacher, like a chorus teacher in a school. So it's pretty a slice of life. We are shown like how their life was like completely normal, and then we see in this very tight, small community, and then we see how the tension start, like how some of the friends like try to support them, but they don't really know how to do that, and how they start like suffering like in their professional lives, how he starts drinking, she starts smoking, they start like distanciating from each other, until the end. And I'm going to be like spoiling that. The last 20 minutes that you were saying that you were high is basically like how he kidnaps.
High but rewatched, so I saw the entire film sober.
Yeah. So the last 20 minutes is basically how the husband kidnaps like the murder of his son, and he pretends that he's going to be like escaping town and just bail in jail. Sort of like how do you say escaping bail? Moving out of town.
Skipping out on bail, but skipping out of town.
So he's skipping both things, skipping town and skipping bail, because he's skipping town. Just to find that at the end it was basically a plan with one of his friends to actually just murder him in the woods, so the body never gets found, and people think that he actually flew away.
Which is very smart. It's a fairly simple plot if you think about it.
It's like basically kid gets involved with woman, husband of the woman kills kid, and parents suffer from the consequences, and they take vengeance on their hands.
Just the dad. Yeah. The mom was a real bitch.
She was a real bitch, but also at the same time is like she was not unhappy, because when he actually came back, because they arrived a bit later, they were expecting, they planned everything. They planned this to a level that is like, you guys didn't show me like all of this planning. Is that this is like pretty interesting that you guys planned to this detail, as they murdered him before they were going to murder him, that it was going to be like in the middle of the bush, and then just like dig a fosse there. Is like they actually had to drag him to the point with a car, like a pretty disturbing image. And then because of that, they are delayed. The fishermen started like going out, so the bridges, they are open to the boats, so they had to wait on the road to come back, so that he doesn't arrive back in time before the wife wakes up from the pills that she takes for the sleeping. So she actually sees him like, oh, you were out at 4 a.m, all night out, and she just basically asks him like, oh, did you do it? Like about like probably he didn't check with her about like what was going to be doing, but implicitly she already knew that it's like, hey, this is the only way that we can survive this if he's no longer here.
talk about it ever, right?
Yeah, they're like pretty. No, we never see it, and basically they never address the fact that the son was murdered until one scene when they break down and they start like just throwing everything on each other's face.
Very well summarized. Well done.
Thank you. I had to say I brought you yesterday when I was watching it because I was about to tell you that this is not an easy to watch movie. Not because of the quality, but because of I could actually resonate like with the parents about like what they go through is that they are like painted in a way, because I didn't realize too much. The synopsis that I read, it was like there is a tragedy that happens that it would change their lives forever. That is like a pretty generic way of putting it, but I didn't know if it was going to be like Marisa Tomei dying, you know, like the husband and the Marisa Tomei like dying and the kid has to take over the kids. Is like, I had no idea. I honestly had no idea exactly where this was going to. So it was some aspect of it felt like a bit green, not amateurish, you know, but I would say that, okay, I think that this could have been a bit more like polished, but it was like the emotional charge. I think that it was pretty good. You know, it landed for me.
It was interesting the way they handled violence in the film. It was just to me, it was very matter of fact. And I know I say this about almost every film, but it was very Haneke-esque in, oh, yep, he got shot in the face. Here's his face with a bullet hole in it. And then when Tom Wilkinson, the father, kills the murderer, it's just like, oh, it happened. He shoots him once in the shoulder and then twice in the back.
Yep. And at that point, it's like when the friend comes and he's like, oh my God, what did you do? I was like, oh, wait, they didn't plan this together? And he's like, we planned to kill it somewhere else, not here. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Is that they actually normalize the fact of, we're going to kill him. And it's fine.
Which is a bold move from Willis, the character Willis. Like, I honestly, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, they just, served justice to this guy. They didn't have the evidence to make him go away, so they served their own vigilante justice. It's not okay, but it was fine. But then for Willis to get involved, I was like, risking going to prison for a really long time for somebody that's just your friend.
Well, but probably he believes that the damage that this guy has done to the community is that we are shown a couple of times how he interacts, like Richard, how Richard interacts with other people, like his wife, the kids, like even like the bartender that he works with at the end, and is like, he's pretty bad. He's like a human feces. So from that perspective, if we think about like a very tight, small community, is that he may take like in a personal aspect about saying that is that I have to protect the community as a whole, not only because of my friend, but because of the kind of value that this person brings to the community.
Yeah, I can see that. And there is something about the film that's a little bit like about small towns and the connections you make, and like, so yeah, I buy into that.
Yeah, and just like moving on, as a kid for a while, he thinks that he's going to be like staying in the village, and he says like, I'm going to be a fisherman like my grandfather was, maybe this is skip a generation, blah blah blah. And then we see the father trying to be a fisherman for a day, and he gets beat by one of the lobsters when he's hanging. And then we see, I mean, it's a bit heavy-handed in some of these aspects, maybe a bit like Tar on that aspect, about like, I know that you're like just getting already upset, it's like your alarm is like going there, but it's like when he actually gets beat by the lobster and we see him bloody and how he actually puts the band-aid, and at the end of the movie how he removes the band-aid, is like, this has healed.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it heavy-handed, but certainly there's not many questions that you walk away from. Like, he wraps everything up very nicely.
Definitely. Is that we don't care about like what happens with Marisa Tomei after this point, or the kids. I had to say that is that they become like such an accessory. But I think that is what it makes interesting from a directional perspective, that is she is like a centerpiece for the first act. and then she becomes an accessory. It's like how the father tries to connect with her, and how the mother, when Marisa Tomei tries to connect with her, she's like, fuck you, I don't want to know everything, I'm going to blame you.
That was devastating. Marisa Tomei visits the mother, Sissy Spacek, at work. Sissy Spacek just slaps her. It's just devastating, and Marisa Tomei leaves in tears. It's super uncomfortable and unfair.
Yeah, but basically at the same time is as you behave, not slapping the father, Tom Wilkinson, but being like extremely awkward about like, I don't want to talk with you. I don't feel like there is anything for me to talk about it. So a part of me wonders if there is like if there is a part of truth in the read that both of the parents did to each other, about like the mother being like extremely controlling and the father having a slight crush on Marisa Tomei.
Yeah, I could see that. I hadn't thought about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking from the perspective that at the beginning we see Willis and Matt talking in a barbecue about like, oh, look at that piece of ass. It's clear that both of them are like, she's hot. And then we see like one of the triggers for the Tom Wilkinson character for killing Richard is that he sees a picture of Richard being happy with Marisa Tomei. And it's like, did he really have a bit of a crush? Because it's that shouldn't be like just bothering you at all. It's like your problem with him should be about like he killed your son. Whatever he did, with Marisa Tomei, like you shouldn't care about that.
I will say that I really appreciated the vagueness of how the film ends, because he sees that picture and it affects him, and I think your explanation is a good one. I hadn't thought about that. But when he comes home to Sissy Spacek, he's almost nonverbal. Like he just crawls into bed and she keeps asking him questions, and it's like 4 a.m. at that point, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, what am I thinking? You must be hungry. And then she just leaves to go make food, and then the film ends with her saying, Matt, do you want coffee? Matt? That felt like a very, very fitting ending to this.
Yeah, I think there is a bit more like the consequence of their actions is that for Sissy Spacek, maybe a bit more about like things can go back to normal now. Is that she was not offering like just making food or anything for Tom Wilkinson on previous scenes, that they were like detaching completely. In this case, a bit more is that, hey, we're married again. Things are back to normal. And for him, it's a bit more of a, what have I done? Like reflecting a bit more into the actions that he did.
There's some horrifying statistic that, like, I'm gonna get it wrong, but it's like 75% of marriages split up after a child dies. And the grief process is so different, and we see Matt go through a very different grief process than, I can't think of Sissy Spacek's character's name.
Ruth Fowler.
Ruth.
Yeah.
But it just drives a wedge between them. It's interesting, and he drinks, she just stops talking to people and engaging with the world, and
yeah, she starts smoking. I don't think that we see her smoking before that point. But yeah, she's even peace. Yeah, she's sorry.
No, I was saying they make her smoking so vulgar. It's such a small thing, but like when he comes home and it's 4 a.m. and she's smoking in bed, you're like, this doesn't fit.
Yeah, like someone that is like just basically like preparing like a show for the harvest, that they are like basically singing in Icelandic. I don't know.
They did have very interesting music choices. I was like, wow,
yeah.
They're going to have her.
yeah, I was like, okay, for being like a small village, this is surprisingly elevated, because they sounded super cool, to be honest.
And there's also a little bit of like socioeconomic issues explored, like the murderer. He has very wealthy parents, and they're able to post his bail, so Matt and Ruth have to see the murderer around town, and that's super, super painful for them. And
yeah, honestly,
it's a layered film.
Yeah.
Layered.
I honestly feel I never had like this temptation, but a part of me was like, if it's a short, should I reading a short story? And it's like, I think that they changed like a lot, because the story, I only read like the 31st lines, and it's like, yeah, I could do it, it's 10 pages. But basically it's like the main character has a brother, an older brother. So is that there is like significant variance with what like the movie did. Is I think that he did like a heavy adaptation, like a heavy editing of it, and it actually opens with the death, with they are like doing like the funeral.
So it's like Brokeback Mountain. The original was like 7 pages, and they turned it into a 2-hour movie.
Well, but you have to actually budget for Ang Lee, reflectional landscape, and gay sex.
That's interesting because he's only directed 3 films. So this was his first, and then he did Little Children, and Little Children was an adaptation as well. And I read the book, and the book's fucking brilliant, but the movie's a pretty faithful adaptation. Besides, Kate Winslet's character is supposed to be a little fat or unattractive, and all they did was give her bushy eyebrows to make her ugly. And you're like, no,
that's not enough.
I'm not buying this. She's still gorgeous. So yeah, maybe I'll read the short story.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious about it. Honestly, I liked it quite a bit. I was like impressed about definitely this is not at the level of what I remember from Little Children or Tar, but I can see a particular voice. I can see why people were excited for just seeing like something more of this director. Is that for being like a first movie, is that this is pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he understands making film, or he understands how to make his audience engage with his movies the way he wants. I know that I had seen this film before, but I had forgotten 100% of it. I remembered nothing about it. If I had to rate his movies, like order them, I would absolutely say Tar is the best, then Little Children, and then In the Bedroom. Which is fine, because, I mean, that's his first film, and it still crushed. I mean, everything he does gets nominated for Oscars.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Tar is going to be... The acting on this one was impeccable, honestly. It's like the gift...
It's more nuanced than he, asked Cate Blanchett to do. That's such an over-the-top performance. This is so not in your face. It's like the antithesis of Tar, almost.
I was actually thinking... The Little Children and these are pretty similar on how nuanced and subtle they are. Because one of them is about grief, the other one is a bit more about boredom. I don't know how to define Little Children about what is it about.
Satisfaction, just one, the grass is greener.
Yeah, exactly. A bit more about just boredom and never being fully satisfied, always looking for something else. But Tar feels a bit more, as you say, on your face, a bit more, not really outrageous, but a bit more is, hey dude, I don't need to be sad about this. That's what I was complaining about this. So Tar feels a bit more black or white.
Yeah,
this feels more nuanced about where the behavior of the people actually lands.
It's definitely, I don't know how to say this without inadvertently disrespecting Tar, which I respect very much, but it definitely felt more grounded in reality than either of his other two movies. Little Children is almost it's narrated with an ironic narrator, and there's humor in it. There's a lot of humor in Little Children, and this just feels very much, I don't know, it's realism, right?
Wasn't there some weirdness in Little Children towards the end? I don't remember completely.
There's towards the end, the pedophile cuts his dick off.
Yeah, that was the part.
Yeah. That's a fairly he goes on a date with that mentally ill chick, and she drops him off, and she just looks over and he's masturbating.
Yeah, that was pretty weird, the end part. But I guess that it was just the point about the suburbs can be pretty weird. They can actually be the how do you say hosting pretty strange stuff. But yeah, overall, I was like pretty impressed. It was not an easy to digest movie. The characters are pretty how do you say, like they're like not self-absorbed, but a bit more like just trying to keep to themselves. So it's not that they are like crying and just making everything terrible. For a second I was thinking about wit, and it's like, thank God this is not wit. But no, I don't. I can't. I just definitely can't like put up with that. But this was still, sometimes we talk about like if we resonate with the characters or not, and it's not about like if I can project myself on them. It's a bit more like if the story can handle like these characters to make them look realistic. And I think that portraying a slice of life tragedy, and then how the slice of life has changed into something different but still feels realistic, is a really good move. And I think that it actually just helps connecting with the characters and just like resonating with their emotions.
So if you had to rate his films based on your preference, how would you rate them?
I think that Tar is the best of the three, albeit it's a different movie than the other two. It's a bit more ambitious, I think, a bit more like larger scale than anything else that he has done. But I guess that's like the point when you are like making a movie about cancel culture.
Fuck you, man.
I was
After our last podcast,
you what?
Like, Pablo, Jose thinks that movie's about cancel culture. Pablo's like, it is.
I actually talked with my boyfriend too, and he told me that, but it is.
Fuck you guys.
I'm sorry, dude. I mean, that doesn't mean that it's bad or that it makes it worse, but it's like, this is what is like the latent topic there. In any case, I think that Tar is, from a crafting perspective, is incredible. It's like I don't know, like how do you say, like a gigantic piece, you know?
It's like an epic. It really is like an epic story of downfall.
Yeah. I mean, there are not so many movies that they would actually do 1,000 costumes for the last scene. Just saying. So yeah, this is the definition.
Would have been a 9.5, but had been the film that way.
But I would say the second, I remember little children like just like, this is pretty good. Maybe like the weirdness towards the end, it got me like a bit like, okay, I'm a bit like behind this. But this one, I think that probably this would be like the third on the stack ranking of the movies. But just,
that's not to say this film is bad. Like,
no.
It's an incredible film overall.
Yeah. It's really good. It's just that it's not. I don't know how to say it. I think that there are like small things that they could have been changed, But overall, it's really good for just doing like a story like this. It's amazingly well done.
Especially as like a freshman effort. If this is the first film you put out, like, Jesus.
Yeah.
So talented. I wish he would do more film. I mean, maybe he maintains his quality because he only does 3 movies every 21 years. Every 7 years he does a movie on average.
Yeah. So from that perspective, it's like this has like a consistency. This director has a consistency that I'm trying to think about like any other director that had like this level of consistency, and I can't, because I love Haneke, but it's not that every single movie that he has done has been a slam dunk.
I mean, M. Night Shyamalan is consistently bad.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich, and many others that they do garbage stuff. But it's like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about like consistently great,
Yeah, I think just because Tar reminded me of Todd Field, he's definitely a director that I will anticipate the most when a film of his comes out.
Oh yeah.
Even if I don't like it, it's going to be well done and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the level of care that he shows here and his understanding of the medium is impressive. It's like, I'm after watching like the 3 of them, I'm like, wow, this is like an amazing pack let's say. It's like each one of them is like it stands on its own ground. But when you actually think, it's like, hey, this guy only did like these 3 movies and they are consistently good, like really good movies, I'm impressed. I mean, I just want to have more movies from him, but I don't want him to rush either.
I'm so desperate for more Todd Field content that I almost rewatched Eyes Wide Shut for the 3 minutes he's on the screen.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was reading his Wikipedia article, and I don't know if it was Kubrick, the one that told him, before like he jumped into directing, like something is like, you have to do what you have a passion for, what it actually just like makes you resonate with it. It may not be acting. And he stopped acting. Yeah, and he stopped acting.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I know he considers himself a jazz musician first and foremost, which is interesting. Yeah. But at least it gave him a sensibility for Tar in terms of music. Anyway, this is not a podcast about Tar this time.
Or Todd Field as a whole. But it's funny because we actually started our first podcast was Little Children like 180 episodes ago. Yeah, 181 episodes. So it's interesting to actually just see like our perspective, they're like watching so many movies, like just feeling like so impressed by a director. What was the director that you really like, the one from Happy Go Lucky? Mike Lee. Is like I feel like he's another. I haven't watched like too much stuff by him, but he's solid on his understanding of the medium. But I think that this guy has like a bit of a stronger like visual language about like how to portray things.
I've never seen a bad Mike Lee movie. They're all brilliant. But yeah, in the way that In the Bedroom is smaller in scale and very realistic, that's all Mike Lee movies.
Yeah.
Small scale, very realistic, but it lacks the drama that some of us value in films in some occasions, I think.
That's fair. Should we go over the questions?
Let's do it.
Would you watch it again?
Yeah, not soon, but yes, I would watch it.
Yeah, me too. As I was telling you, I felt like a bit emotionally draining, but it was good enough that I would expose myself to that because it was not so much emotionally draining like Wit.
Wit is just a perfect film. I mean,
dude, it is fucking devastating. So I was thinking about that. I thought that this could have been even more devastating. It was like the right balance of devastation that I could handle,
Yeah, it wasn't like having to kick you in your stomach so you feel so sick that you cry.
Yeah, but it's not, it's like when you're like watching, it's like, God, I can not pull my eyes away, but at the same time, it's like, this is not designed for being pleasant. That's for sure. Would you recommend it?
Yes. So the only reason I hesitated was because I can't think of a situation where I'm like, oh, you should watch In the Bedroom. Maybe if someone was like, hey, I really like Tar, I said, well, watch Little Children and then watch In the Bedroom.
I would recommend it more like from the perspective that it's like if someone asks me, it's like, hey, did you hear about like the other Todd Field movies? It's like, definitely just watch them. They're like all of them, they're good. It's more like I don't think that it's a genre per se about like parents coping with the death of their kid. I know that there is this Daniel Craig and Nicole Kidman movie, Through the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, Rabbit
Hole. That is also about that. I remember it was like pretty famous when it came out because there are not so many movies like discussing about this. Because I think that most people are parents, not gay people, but straight people. They tend to be parents, and I think that this is a topic that they don't want to think too much about.
Yeah, my sister was telling me that after she had her daughter, she could no longer see any sort of media that had children in peril or child death, which makes sense. It's a tough subject.
Yeah. Would you remember it?
The answer is no, because I've seen this film before and I didn't remember a single thing about it. So for a year I'll probably remember, but I'm going to forget most of this.
That's a good point. I'm not sure if I will remember it or not. I'm going to be like, I know that we don't do it, but I'm going to be like leaving it with a maybe, because I don't trust myself about like remembering this like all together about like what it was, especially by the title in the bedroom.
Yeah,
because
this has almost no connection to the actual plot.
Yeah, it reminded me. We have watched like many movies lately that they are like intimate, a small story. At the same time that we watch also, like Tower, but we watch like God's Creatures, like recently, and they do like a thing in common that they say God's creature at some point. And in this one, they actually say like with the lobster when they're showing the lobsters to the kid at the beginning of the movie, it's like, well, it's like if you have like a bedroom with lobsters, it's like if you have like a female with a male, this is what happens. But if they are like two males, it should be fine.
Just have anal sex.
Yeah, they would only go against God's command. Is there anything artistic about it?
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on it, but like the visual style of Todd Field is incredible. Is it Fields with an S or Field with no S?
I think there is just a single one. Yeah, it's a Field.
Yeah. And the direction just is incredibly strong. The acting's incredible. I particularly liked the script. Like I said before, the last 20 minutes, or the last 5 minutes, I thought were brilliant. There's a lot that's artistic about this.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I just feel a bit weird. I mean, I agree. It's artistic. I definitely agree. And there are some scenes that they are gorgeous, like the kids singing. And those scenes, I would love that they spend like more time with those scenes. Is it a timeless piece?
Yes. Grief over the loss of a child will always be timely.
Timeless.
Timeless.
Yeah, timeless. Yeah, I agree. It's like completely timeless. Would you turn this into a TV show?
To be honest, I think I almost always answer no to this question, but I think if this were like a 6-part HBO miniseries, they could do it very, very well. What was that Kate Winslet one that they did with? It's about a woman who's poor and she starts a chain of restaurants. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was a remake of a series made in the 60s, and she redid it, and she won all the awards.
Of course, they didn't win in the 60s because they didn't have Kate Winslet.
Right. I think they could build out more characters. I guess the answer is yes, even though the reason I always say no is because I enjoy the film as it is so much that suggesting a change is always scary to me. But yes, I think this could be a TV show.
Yeah, I see your point. I think that it could actually work, but I'm still going to go with no, because there were like some points that I suffer, like with the parents, what they were going through. Is that I don't want to be waiting for one more week to just see more suffering. I want this to be done. Like basically like wheat, is that I will fucking never turn that into a TV show. Is that I just want to be done with that. No, I just want to be done with it. It's like we start, we suffer, and that's it. And we move on with our lives. You fucking make me cry, and we just move on.
But you don't like dark series about suffering? Like I'm thinking about. Oh, I can't think of any names today. The remake of the Danish TV series about the murdered child. The Vanishing? Is it The Vanishing? I don't know.
I don't know. It's a TV show?
Yes, and it ran for at least 3 seasons, and it's about investigating this.
It doesn't show. It doesn't. No, I mean, the only thing that I can think about, like, just high drama kind of thing. I don't know, dude. I mean, I'm thinking that 6 Feet Under, but it's a soap opera. But the ending, we don't have to talk about like the ending, but I would say is that this, dude, you're playing with my feelings right now. I've never seen like a better ending to anything. It took 6 years to get there, but it was good.
So good. Side note, my husband likes Aaron Sorkin, and it really disappoints me.
You guys are still married.
At the end of our days, he typically turns on Newsroom. And Claire's Republican boyfriend at the end of 6 Feet Under, he's in that.
Oh my god. That's so... I don't know. Well, doesn't matter. We're not talking about Aaron Sorkin now and probably never.
Unless I pick The Social Network.
Let's not pick The Social Network, please. Could this have been a short?
I'm gonna say yes, only because this was based on a short story. So clearly the story is there and impactful enough to inspire Todd Field to write an entire film about it. So I suspect, yes, it could be a short. I don't want it to be a short. I prefer the 2 hours and 10 minutes. But yes, it could.
Yeah, I would also go. I would go with yes. This could have been a short. It would have been a different product. It would have been a product that I would have enjoyed less potentially. I don't think that you can do like that kind of meditative slice of life perspective that they paint with a short. But it would be feasible, you know.
Do you think you could suffer as much as you've suffered watching this film, watching a short? And you just said it was difficult to watch for you, that it was emotionally impactful. Could a short get those emotions to pop up inside you? That sounded
the thing is, like, I don't think that they would have like so much time to develop, you know, like on the first act, to just develop like the normalcy of the relationship, you know. So from that perspective, I'm a bit torn if he would have like the same emotional landing.
Sit with the parents in their grief process to really understand a lot of the story, and you can't sit with them in their grief in a short, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that is like just technically feasible. I don't think that it will have like the same emotional impact. So I would still go with yes, because you can do it, but probably you don't want to do it. Okay. Do you think this movie could have been better?
I'm gonna go with no, because there are no glaring problems at all, in my opinion. It's not a perfect film by any means, but I can't say, oh yes, they needed less dialogue or more dialogue or better acting. Like, I don't know what I would point out and say, yes, it could have been better this way.
I am going to go with yes. The last act with the father and Richard, it's like, I feel like it's pretty far-fetched. It's pretty like how he's like just driving this and the guy is almost like just like holding to a hope that he's really going to be like flying away. It's like so dumb that he's a dude.
But he knows he's gonna get murdered. Like, he's like, look, we can stop this right now. I'm gonna go to jail for 10 to 20 years. Like, it'll be fine. The guy knew he was gonna be killed, I think.
Well, I mean, just think that he actually sees like the other guy, Willis, what's his name? He even is mad, like, oh my god, it's Mr. Willis. That is a, yeah, this is a normal situation. This guy could never murder me. Dude, you're in the middle of a forest, you know, like with someone that you murdered the son of, you know. And besides that, is I just think there is all of the reasoning that he's saying for the father to let him go. Is like, just think that he was sleeping with my wife in my bed. Is it, dude, you don't try to justify the murder of someone's son when that person is holding a gun. Is that made no sense to me. It's like, I don't know if it was like, hey, you had developed like a bit more this character, maybe I could believe it, but this is a bit more of a single tone kind of thing about like this character is stupid.
Interesting. Your criticism is valid, but it didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, and the other thing is like I felt like Marisa Tomei, I was expecting to have like a bit more of relevance in the second and third act, and it was a bit more like she disappeared, as it was only like accessory for she screwed up on the initial statement to the police, and he got caught on the on jury and on court, and just for showing up one interaction with the father and the mother, and that's it. I was expecting a bit more of her.
It's interesting that, like, also the son, who I can't name the actor, but he was a pretty big actor at that time.
Oh, Nick Stoll. Yeah.
Yes. He just, like, his role was so short that it's just shocking. You're like, what? He's dead?
Yeah, I mean, it's like when even like the camera goes down, you know, like to see his face, I was like, oh no, the camera is just like telling us like he's not coming back.
No, he's
gone. He's really dead. Let's just move on. Yeah, that part I also felt like a bit more is like you're developing like this character that is having this internal struggle about like, does he want to change his life instead of going to, you know, like college for architecture, you know, for just staying as a fisherman? Is that like so in love with her? And it's like, I just feel like if they were like so in love, Marisa Tomei couldn't have like disappear of their lives like in this kind of way after like a tragedy like this.
Well, in fairness, he always tells his parents it's just a fling. Like, he doesn't see it lasting a long time. But clearly, like, his actions, considering giving up graduate school, he's clearly in love with her, but he's in denial or whatever. And his parents never really took her seriously.
Well, I mean, he goes like back and forth, because the last scene that we see is like him talking on the phone, just talking with one of the teachers that wants to sponsor him for just going into college. And then is when he gets the call at the same time that he leaves on hold, like the teacher, like the Natalie calls him, and he goes like running to the house, and it's when everything, you know, transpires. So it has been like a bit of a back and forth without like knowing exactly where they could have landed, you know, as a couple. But it's like I just feel, dude, is that they actually throw a birthday party for one of the kids at the parents' house.
Yeah, that's true.
That's pretty weird for a fling.
But I mean, he was living there.
Yeah, he was living there, but it's still like just throwing a party for the song of your summer fling.
Yeah.
It's strange.
I'll admit that.
Yeah. I find heartbreaking the scene when the guy is like just, how do you say, dismantling the swings in the middle of the night. Super heartbreaking about like, yep, we're never going to have like other kids. How she says is that, well, we wanted to have more kids, but you know, he was starting his practice and we already have one, we have Frank, so we didn't do it. There are like many things that I find exceptional, but there are other things that I feel, that's the reason what I say is like it feels a bit greenish, you know, from a director perspective, that they are like small details that I think that having a bit more of experience, they would have been like more slam dunks.
Do you know if he wrote any scripts that he didn't direct?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I suspect the answer is no, but I don't know the answer. Writer, he has 7 writing credits.
No, he did.
A TV show, a short. 3 shorts and a TV show in 2022.
Oh, yeah, I see.
So
yeah, basically not. Yeah, I think that may be like the part I think that it could be like a bit better. I don't remember much of Little Children. That's not an invitation for a rewatch. That's not. I may rewatch it, but I don't think. Maybe we can just, if you want, like at the 200 episode, maybe we can actually just like talk about it.
We'll see. I don't get to pick this podcast, but I get to pick next one. So.
Okay, that's fair. But I think that the script, like the writing, I think that it may be like the part that it could be a tiny bit better, a tiny bit sharper for just like making it perfect, like his movies.
I can see that. Like, I can accept that criticism because I think the writing we saw in Tar, he got to the place where he knew he could be. But yes, this is, I know you said you didn't want to call the filmmaking amateurish, but there are some, hey, this is this guy's first film. The first film he wrote, the first film he directed, and it does peek through every once in a while, even though I would absolutely call this a very accomplished film.
Oh yeah. I mean, holy shit! I wish that I would actually went into directing after being an actor. There is a really, really, really different skill set that you require, and you produce this as the first film. It's mind blowing. I know that in Sundance they were like just saying stuff like, we didn't think that American independent directors could come up with something like this, and the reflection of how violence is portrayed on the screen.
This is exactly the type of film that Sundance gets a hard-on for. They're like beautifully shot, super sad, nothing happens. That's good.
Well, we already know what we're going to be like talking about like next week. I think that film was also like a very Sundance design.
That could absolutely be in Sundance, and it would have won everything.
It's almost like there is the same way that there is an algorithm for Netflix for just defining, like what the audience wants. I think that there is an algorithm for A24 and there is an algorithm for Sundance about like what the audience wants.
So much.
All right, that doesn't matter. So we scored, and before we actually scored this, I don't know if you saw it, but we actually had like an event on our calendar asking us if we remember about a movie.
I don't.
Don't check it. Don't check it. Maybe you remove it directly. But I know that we said that we're not going to be like doing this anymore, like for a while, at least for a while. But what do you remember about 9 Days?
9 Days takes place in the desert, and there are 9 people living in what I think is it's kind of like a motel sort of situation. I mean, they have individual houses, and it's run by a guy who is deciding which of them will earn the right to go to Earth and live a life. And some people opt out. They're just like, I'm done. I don't want to try for this. And some people try. And then at the end, they choose one person when it really should have been the other person. And that person goes to Earth. And the rest don't.
Yeah, it's basically that. I don't think that we ever see the motel, but he lives in a house in the middle of nowhere, and he's like a judge.
Yeah, it's like the Salt Flats in Utah. It's just like white land.
Yeah. And he receives like visits from these folks every day. He actually just puts like some kind of situation in front of them, and they react to it. Is that they don't have like a personality, is that we don't know who they are. It's a bit more of their ideas that they may go back to Earth. So yeah, you remember like quite a bit. It's like we just let the event because we were saying is that hey, we may not remember anything about this movie, but we did.
I basically remember what was in the trailer. I don't remember any specifics. I just remember very vividly that they picked the wrong person to go to Earth.
It's not the best. It's not the word like the wrong person, but basically like the judge. He used to be on Earth. He actually was alive, and now he's like in this limbo, like just helping to decide what souls are going to be like going to Earth. And he was saying is that hey, I see like quite a bit on the right person, of myself, and I just feel like I would actually send someone to just suffer on Earth because this guy committed suicide.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the wrong person. In that I was really rooting for another character.
For her, yeah. And then in the not so handsome of the Skarsgård brothers is the one that gets sent to Earth. And he's a bit more like emotional and a bit more like temperamental. But the other cute thing is that for each one of the people that he actually says, no, you are not going to Earth, is that he actually creates like this farewell to their soul. About like their favorites, exactly. What is
memory or something?
Like because they are always watching like the lives of people, and the guy is also oh my god, I remember like the whole fucking movie. The guy is also traumatized because one of the people that he actually sent to Earth, he committed suicide too. Does he's a violin player?
Yeah, she's like the first to go, and it's kind of shocking, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like she gets off her, I think that is like first violin or something crazy like that, and on her way home is like she committed suicide with the car, and he's like traumatized with that, and he started like just showing like each one of the souls at some point start like just showing them the videos, for actually just watching like how is the life on Earth, and that's how they pick like their favorite moment. that they want to just live
I
through.
feel like we remembered like 90% of that film.
I think that is 100. I don't think that there is like much more. He has also a friend that he goes to visit. He's also a famous actor, and he's like just checking on him, but he's not a judge, and blah blah blah. So, yeah, we remember a lot. In any case, should we score in the bedroom?
We should. This was my pick, so you have to score first.
As I remember the score from Little Children and Tar, I'm going to be giving this a 7.75.
You're choosing a lot of non-conforming answers in this podcast. That is good. I can't decide on a score. Like I have to give it an 8. It's, you know, my philosophy. 7.5 is a solid good movie. This is a little bit better than a solid good movie for me. So 8.
Mm-hmm. Cool, yeah. No, that's good. It's consistent. I think that you gave to Little Children and Tar a 9.
Tar needs a 9.5.
Yeah, those 1,000 costumes, they deserve a bump.
Shut up. The one thing I didn't like.
So for next time, as this was your pick, next one is mine. I'm talking about A24 and Sundance. And I mentioned multiple times that I really like Jennifer Lawrence, and I feel like she disappeared, and I'm afraid that Hollywood is going to be like forgetting about her like pretty soon, as it's already like just getting to that age that Hollywood pretends that women don't exist. I wanted to see like one of her new movies that she releasing this year. She has like multiple ones, no? Coming this and next year.
I have no idea.
Okay. I wanted to watch this movie called Causeway. That he also was in the Toronto on Apple TV. Yeah, by A24. That's interesting. But yeah, anything else to say about In the Bedroom?
Nothing from me.
Well, then thank you so much to everyone out there listening to us. And
Wash your hands.
bye.